years. The first phase of this da'wah was done in secrecy, and that lasted for 3 years. And this is 3 years out of 23 years of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life after he was given the message. These 23 years, that changed history forever. 3 years of it, the first 3 years is the secret phase. Then the 10 years after that is the second Mecca phase, which is the declaration and the struggle. And then the third phase, which also a third phase that lasted for 10 years, is the Medina phase, is after Hijrah. The first Muslim, the first one to embrace this, after this Muddathir came, the first Muslim was Khadija. Khadija then declared, La ilaha illallah, Muhammad Rasulullah, and the first Muslim is a woman. No question about that. The first Muslim was Khadija, the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then she was one of the first that were given the glad tidings that she will be in paradise. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Umirtu an ubashshira Khadija bi baytin min qasab la sakhaba fihi wa la nasab." I was given the glad tidings to tell Khadija that she will be in a house of pearls where there is no tiring and there is no noise and of this earthly life. Then the second Muslim was a boy living in his house. Who's that boy? Ali ibn Abi Talib. He was 10 years old. He was his cousin. Why would he live in Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam house? Abu Talib had too many children. And Abu Talib was not a rich man. And then Abu Talib couldn't provide for his children. We talked about that. And then all the tribe of Bani Hashim came to Abu Talib. His brothers, his nephews, his cousins said, "Can we take some of the children away from you?" And Abu Talib said, "In taraktum aqilan faf'alu." If you leave Aqil, his eldest child, to him, then take the rest of him. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, for the destiny from Allah to Ali, he was raised in the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and he never ever prostrated or worshipped an idol. And that's why we say, Aliyun karramallahu wajha. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saved his face from worshipping idols. Then the third Muslim was a servant in the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Zayd, his name was Zayd, his original name was Zayd ibn Haritha ibn Shurhabil. Zayd was a slave that during one of the raids against his tribe, Bani Kalb, he was taken as a child, as a prisoner, and then he was sold in Mecca. And eventually he comes to the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam as a slave. But he was from a very rich family in his tribe, and a very noble family in his tribe, Zayd ibn Haritha. His father later on knew where Zayd was. So they bring the money, they bring what they think is enough to get Zayd back, and they came to the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and Haritha ibn Shurhabil, father of Zayd, sat with Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, said, "Ya Muhammad, you know who we are, and we know who you are. You are a generous man, and you know that we are nobility in our people. We will not accept that our son would be a servant in your house, will be a slave in Quraysh. Whatever money you want, it's for you. How much do you want for Zayd? And we will give it to you, and we'll take him peacefully." And then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "No, I will give you a better offer if you would accept it. I will give Zayd the freedom to either go with you with no money at all, or stay in my house if he wanted to." And Haritha said, "Wallahi, I was not disappointed in you. You're more generous than I ever thought. So you're going to give him to me for free?" He said, "No, we'll give him the choice." So of course, would anybody choose slavery than coming back to his father's house? "Come here, Zayd. You have the choice of either coming with me or staying with Muhammad." And he said, "Wallahi la akhtaru ala Muhammadin ahadan abada." I will not choose anybody over Muhammad. His father was shocked. Said, "Zayd, you are a servant in this house." He said, "Nobody, not my mother, not my father will treat me better than Muhammad is treating me." And then Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and this was before Islam, to give him a stature and to satisfy his father, he said, "He is not my slave, he is not my servant." from the day on, he's my son. He adopted him, and from that day Zayd was called Zayd ibn Muhammad. Zayd ibn Muhammad, he gave him full rights of inheritance as a true son, until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came with the revelation and he said, مَا كَانَ مُحَمَّدٌ أَبَا أَحَدٍ مِّن رِجَالِكُمْ. That there is no adoption, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was never meant to be a father of any man. None of his children reached manhood. All his children died before puberty. And this is the destiny of Allah. All the male children did not, jazakallah, min rijalikum. None of the men. None of the men. So, this is the third Muslim. Then, the first Muslim was his friend, Abu Bakr. Abdullah ibn Abi Quhafa. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq was the first man outside the house of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to become a Muslim. In al-Bukhari, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam talked to Umar, and in a long hadith, and within that hadith about Abu Bakr, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said to Umar, إِنَّ اللَّهَ بَعَثَنِي إِلَيْكُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent me to you. فَقُلْتُمْ كَذَبْتَ. Everybody said liar for the first time. إِلَّا أَبَا بَكْرٍ. Except Abu Bakr. فَقَالَ صَدَقْ. Abu Bakr is the first one to believe me. And in another hadith which is not narrated in Bukhari, it has little weaker narration, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, ما دعوت أحدا إلى الإسلام إلا كانت له عنه كبوة وتردد ونظر. I never invited anybody to Islam unless they would think about it, which is natural for normal human beings. Somebody is asking you to change your religion, you'd ask the question, what is your new religion is about? Who is your God? Simple things. What do I need to say to except Abu Bakr? Except إلا أبا بكر ما عتم منه حيث ذكرته وما تردد فيه. Except Abu Bakr. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam came to him and said, Abu Bakr, I am a messenger of God. Said, yes, you are a messenger of God. Said, أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن I witness that you are a messenger of God. No hesitation. He didn't even think about it. That was as much as he believed in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Bakr, during those early days, played the most important role in spreading the da'wah. We will say the names that are glorified in history as the first Muslims. And of those, either 6 or 8, according to different narration, they all became Muslims with the efforts of Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr started choosing the people that he trusts, the people that he knows, the people that he knows that they're not satisfied with the idol worshipper. The first one he went to was Uthman. Uthman ibn Affan, and he was from the people of Umayyah. He was Umawi. And then the second one he went to was Az-Zubayr ibn al-Awwam. Az-Zubayr is actually a cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Az-Zubayr, his mother is Safiya bint Abd al-Muttalib. So he is his cousin, Ibn Ammatu. And he was from Bani Asad. And then Abd al-Rahman ibn Auf wa Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. They were both from Bani Zahra. If you remember, Bani Zahra are the tribe of Amina bint Wahab, the mother of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So they were from his mother's family. And then Talha ibn Ubaidillah at-Tamimi. And then after that, Uthman ibn Mad'un wa Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah. I don't just to count some of these names that we will go on for later on. Abu Salama ibn Abd al-Asad. Abu Salama is the husband of Salama. When he migrated to Habasha and then he left his wife, she later became the wife of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah be pleased with all of them. And then later on, Al-Arqam ibn Abi al-Arqam from the tribe of Makhzum. And Al-Arqam ibn Abi al-Arqam is important because he offered his house to become the place that new Muslims would meet in the house of Al-Arqam ibn Bani Abi al-Arqam. And then of the first people that came into Islam was Bilal ibn Rabah, which is the slave from Abyssinia and the house of Umayyah, and Qudamah ibn Mad'un and Abdullah ibn Mad'un, the two brothers of Uthman ibn Mad'un, Ubaidah ibn al-Harith ibn Abd al-Muttalib, cousin of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Sa'id ibn Zayd and his wife. They're both from Bani Adi, min al-Adawiyin, and they were both, Sa'id ibn Zayd, his wife is Fatima bint al-Khattab, is the sister of Umar ibn al-Khattab. And they were from the first Muslims. And Umar ibn al-Khattab had the specialty of torturing Sa'id initially, because he became a Muslim. Then Khabbab ibn al-Arat. Now we're talking about the people that had less stature in their people. Bilal ibn Rabah, Khabbab ibn al-Arat, Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, Ammar ibn Yasir, his mother Safiya ibn Khabat, and his father Yasir. Those were the first Muslims. And they were not all slaves and poor and weak people. Of the first 40, the scholars count 13 of them that had less money and less honor in their people, and they were either slaves or servants. But most of the people that actually got into Islam in the first 40, they were mostly from the honorable people of Quraysh. In that stage, Muslims used to meet in secrecy in the house of Al-Arqam, Ibn Abi Al-Arqam. And in this stage, which lasted 3 years, most of the short verses came, the thing that is in the 30th juzu and in the 29th, most of it that talk about tawheed, about worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most of the things that emphasize faith, just the basic idea of faith, believing in Allah, believing in His angels, believing in the day of judgment, believing in the books, believing in the messengers, believing in the destiny. These things came when this 3 years, the first 3 years of Quran, and then the description of paradise, the description of hellfire. May Allah save all of us from that. And then of their worship, there were only two prayers, one in the morning and one in the evening. And this is in Al-Quran, وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ بِالْعَشِيِّ وَالْإِبْكَارِ. And then you praise thy Lord in the evening and in the morning. They had only two prayers, and each of them was only 2 rak'ah. And that was all they had at that time. And then they had the ablution, they had wudu. Jibreel came to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam within that period, and he told him how to make wudu, even before those verses came. Quraysh knew about this commotion, knew about this new movement. But they had some movements before, like Amr ibn Nufayl and Qass ibn Sa'id al-Iyadi, these people that we talked about. I said that's just another crazy group. It's just 30, 40 people, and just fighting them would not be a big deal. So most scholars, they said that torture and conflict and persecution, the way we knew it, did not happen in that particular phase. It happened later on when the second phase started, which is the declaration of Islam. Why is that important? The fuqaha, the scholars, got the ruling that if there are only few Muslims in a place that they can be persecuted and be pressured, if there are too few of them to leave their religion, they can hide it. They can hide it and they can worship in secrecy. And it's not an obligation on them, if they're too weak and too few, to go out and fight or make jihad if they were mustadafina fil ard. Like a few of them later on, after Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam immigrated to Medina, there were few Muslims in Mecca, and they were hiding. They would not say that we are Muslims, and that was okay. So this is the ruling that we get from that. We, inshallah, finish this first 3 years of the secret phase, and there's not many events, as I said, happened. The major event that we discussed today was the message, the 2 verses that basically paved the way and drove the rules for the rest of the 23 years, believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ad-da'wah. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to benefit us all from what we have learned today, and to help us, inshallah, finish this and continue more on learning the seerah. And we probably have the time for 1 or 2 questions before we conclude, inshallah. The number, inshallah, I don't remember it exactly when we talk about Isra and Mi'raj. There are many more prophets than there are messengers. The prophet is somebody who is given the faith from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he was given an inspiration from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to worship Him. Between him and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And there are thousands of them. And they're not given the mission necessarily to go out and preach it. If that prophet was given a mission to go out and tell people what to do and tell people how to worship, they would be given message. that would be a messenger. Like Salih, like Lut. They were ordered to do something, to give a message. They were given the prophets that were the messengers of Allah, that were given books. 5 of them are distinguished. Nuh, Ibrahim, Musa, Isa, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and they are called Ulul Azm, the strong, steadfasted messengers. They are the main 5, and they're mentioned in the Quran.
So the prophets did not necessarily teach religion.
The prophets did not necessarily teach religion. That's true. If you were given a mission as a prophet to go out and preach it and invite people to it, then you're a messenger. So that's the difference between a prophet and a messenger. So from the first revelation of Iqra, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a prophet. He couldn't call anybody to his religion. He was not given that mission yet. On the second revelation, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, "Qum fa'anzir." Now you go up, now you do, now you warn. And then he became a messenger.
But prophets could very well have shared their knowledge with those who may have asked them.
Allahu A'lam, of course. Yeah, I mean, he shared everything with his wife. It's not a secret thing. Some prophets were sent to believing people, like some of the prophets of the people of Israel. They would come and they would not change anything in the Torah. They had nothing to add. They were given just the mission to continue on with the same message. So they were not given any new revelations or teaching. So they were prophets and not messengers. The question is, Abdul Muttalib, the grandfather of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we talked about the digging out the well of Zamzam and how he had a call. It was a call in his dream. It was not an inspiration. Of course, it was coming from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is not considered as an inspiration or being holy. Of course, he was given this mission of digging out the well of Zamzam with the guidance and the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No question about that. The other thing about Abdul Muttalib that you said he rejected Islam. Abdul Muttalib was not from those who rejected Islam. Those from the people that are called the people of the period. The people that came between prophets after people deviated from one message and they did not receive the next one yet. And those people, only Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows what He's going to do with them. So he's not a rejecter of Islam. Of course, he was not a Muslim. He was a mushrik. He worshipped idols. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only knows what these people will be looked at. With that, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us mercy, to give us guidance. Allahumma salli wa sallim wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanaka rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.